Have you ever heard of a fish that can walk on water, breathe air, and see in the dark? It sounds like something out of a superhero movie, but this creature is very real, and it's taken over one of the world's largest freshwater ecosystems. This is the story of the round goby, a small fish with a massive impact in its invasion of the Great Lakes. Our story begins thousands of miles away, in the Black and Caspian Seas of Eastern Europe and Western Asia. This is the native home of the round goby, a bottom-dwelling fish, usually no bigger than your hand. They're tough little survivors, adapted to a wide range of conditions. But how did they travel halfway across the world from Eurasia to North America? The answer lies in the massive cargo ships that traverse our oceans. In the late 1980s, long before stricter regulations were in place, these ships would take on water in foreign ports to use as ballast, which helps stabilize the vessel. When they reached the Great Lakes to pick up cargo, they discharged this foreign water, and along with it, any organisms that had been sucked in. It was in one of these ballast water dumps that the round goby first arrived, likely as tiny eggs or larvae, completely unnoticed. The first official sighting happened in 1990 in the St. Clair River, a waterway connecting Lake Huron and Lake Erie. At first, no one thought much of it. It was just another small, strange fish. But scientists soon realized this was no ordinary arrival. The round goby had a set of superpowers that made it a perfect invader for the Great Lakes. First, their appetite. Round gobies are voracious eaters. They'll eat almost anything they can fit in their mouths. But they have a particular taste for the eggs and young of other fish. This was bad news for native species like sculpins, darters, and even the young of prized sport fish like bass and walleye. Gobies would raid their nests, decimating the next generation before they even had a chance to hatch. Second, their incredible breeding ability. Single female round goby can spawn multiple times in a season, laying thousands of eggs each time. The males are dedicated fathers, aggressively guarding the nest from any and all predators. This 1-2 punch of high reproduction and fierce protection means their population can explode in a very short time. And third, their unique physical adaptations. Remember how I said they can see in the dark? Round gobies have highly developed sensory systems that allow them to hunt effectively. In the low-light conditions of the lake bottom, they also have a fused pelvic fin on their underside that acts like a suction cup. This lets them latch onto rocks and other surfaces, holding their position even in strong currents, where other fish would be swept away. This gives them a huge advantage when feeding. Within just a few years of that first sighting, the round goby population skyrocketed. They spread from the St. Clair River into all 5 Great Lakes, becoming one of the most abundant fish in many areas. In some parts of Lake Michigan, scientists found densities of over 100 gobies per square meter. Imagine a football field, and then imagine it completely carpeted with these little invaders. It was an ecological takeover on a scale rarely seen. The initial impact was devastating. Native bottom-dwelling fish, like the mottled sculpin, were hit the hardest. The gobies outcompeted them for food and space, and even ate their eggs. In many areas where gobies became dominant, the sculpin population completely vanished. It was a classic case of invasive species bullying the locals out of their own home. But the story doesn't end there. Ecosystems are complex, and the arrival of the round goby set off a chain reaction of unexpected changes, some of which were, surprisingly, beneficial. One of the goby's favorite foods happens to be another notorious Great Lakes invader, the zebra and quagga mussel. These mussels had already wreaked havoc on the ecosystem by filtering out vast amounts of plankton. The base of the food web, the gobies, with their powerful jaws, were one of the few creatures that could crack open and eat these mussels. So, in a strange twist, one invader began to control another. It redirected nutrients that were locked up at the bottom of the lake back into the food chain. And who was there to take advantage of this new abundant food source? The predators. Species like smallmouth bass, walleye, lake trout, and even water birds like cormorants and mergansers started to prey on the round gobies. For smallmouth bass in particular, gobies became a dietary staple. Anglers started noticing that the bass were getting bigger and fatter. They were feasting on an all-you-can-eat goby buffet. So, while the gobies were bad news for some species, they became a crucial food source for others, helping to support healthy populations of some of our favorite sport fish. However, there was a dark side to this new food chain. The gobies, by eating so many mussels from the lake bottom, were also accumulating contaminants that had settled in the sediment. When larger fish ate the gobies, these contaminants were transferred up the food chain, a process called biomagnification. Even more troubling was the link to avian botulism. Type E botulism is a neurotoxin that can be fatal to fish and birds. Scientists discovered a deadly pathway. Mussels would filter the botulism bacteria from the water. Gobies would eat the mussels, and then birds like loons and mergansers would eat the sick or dying gobies. This led to massive die-offs, with thousands of birds washing up on the shores of the Great Lakes. The round goby had become a toxic taxi, delivering a deadly poison up the food web. So is the round goby a villain or an unwilling participant in a changing ecosystem? The answer is complicated. They've permanently altered the Great Lakes. They've driven some native species to the brink, but have also become a vital food source for others. They help control one invader while spreading deadly toxins for another. Today we're living with the round goby. They are a permanent part of the Great Lakes ecosystem. Scientists are continuing to study their long-term effects, and management efforts are focused on preventing their spread to new inland lakes and rivers. Simple actions like cleaning, draining, and drying your boat and fishing gear are crucial to stop them from hitching another ride. The story of the round goby is a powerful lesson in ecology. It shows how a single species, introduced to the right place at the right time, can trigger a cascade of unpredictable consequences. It's a reminder of the delicate balance of our natural world and the immense responsibility we have to protect it. The Great Lakes will never be the same, and the round goby, the little fish that could, is a big reason why. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the wonders and challenges of our planet. See you next time.